Hi everybody, how are you doing tonight? Yay! It's Wednesday, 6 p.m. I am Janet Muse, also known as the Crafty Muse. Hope everybody's doing well out there tonight. We're doing pretty good here. It's a little cloudy right now, but that's okay. We are going to kind of bounce around tonight. I made a card that I want to show you and share with you some tips on how to do that. But we're kind of be all over the place, so if you have trouble keeping up with me, just shoot a little comment there and I will slow down or back up or whatever I need to do. Okay? So how about we get started? My focus, what little focus I will have, is going to be on the Perennial Essence. And we're going to open the catalog and take a look at that right now. How about that? Okay, so if you got a catalog mailed directly to you because you are a customer of mine, it would have come like this. Oh, by the way, bonus points for anyone who can name what movie that music came from that was originally playing. Hey, Paula. Bonus points don't really get you anything, but, you know, hey, if you knew, it might be kind of fun. Hey, Patricia. So this is what it would have looked like if it was mailed to you directly as part of my catalog mailing, because you're a client. So I'm very pleased that they now wrap them in plastic, so they're in pretty good shape when you get them. The reason I wanted to point this out is you do get the information in the return address for my 24/7 online store. This is my home number. This is my email. So you get a little additional information there. And of course, creativity has been calling me. I have to admit, when I placed my first order, I really pared it down and really just got a handful of things. And I'll show you what I focused on to decide how to do that. There are a lot of new things in here. And like I said, one of the sets that we're going to look at tonight is this Perennial Essence. And so when I looked at what to buy, there were a number of things that went in to the decision making, right? So these suites are excellent because you can put in one number and get everything on the page. One of the things that happens though, if there's a product like this organdy striped petal pink ribbon that's not available right now, then the suite's not available under the one number, but all the other products are available. So if you happen to go out there and place your order and you're trying to get a suite, it may be because one thing is currently not available. And we have quite a few things that are currently not available because of switching to new manufacturers and things like that. But that's one little tip as far as when you're placing your order, you can save yourself a lot of time. The other thing that I took a look at was, of course, new papers, and which ones I thought I would like the most. When you take a look at the new colors, of course, I wanted to make sure that I got the new in colors. One of the things we need to remember is that Purple Posy, unfortunately, the ink pad and refill are not available right now, but the ribbon is available, the cardstock's available, the marker, the Stampin' Up marker is available. The Purple Posy blend is available. So there are ways to still get the color and ways to use it. We just won't have the stamp pad and the refill right away. The latest update was that they were still working on quality issues and they would give us an update in 6 weeks. So those are some of the things I looked at to make sure I got all the colors that I wanted. So then when you look at the embellishments, because I could spend forever buying stamp sets and things like that, I wanted to make sure that the colors I decided to buy, that I had coordinating products to go with them. And if you're not aware, when you go to the online store, you can shop by color. So if you're not familiar with that, you can take a look out there, and that can be really helpful. With this particular suite, I think that would be especially helpful because the paper, the designer series paper, right, coordinates with, let's count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 colors. And so if you wanted to make sure you were getting coordinating cardstock and things like that, you want to keep that in mind. One of the very cool things about this particular suite is all the different things you can do with it. You see here that Stampin' Up! On page 106, they've made a little box, which is using the craft boxes that are also out there in the catalog. They've done some home decor, they've done cards, and they've done a couple of little tricks on some of these that I'm going to show you what they did tonight. So you too can do some tricks. Now, this particular paper is really interesting because it literally was hand painted and then turned in to designer paper through photography. Now I am going to show you the paper and try to get as close as I can to it because you don't quite get the whole feel of the paper without being able to touch it. So let's do that. This is how I store my paper now. This way I can keep the open packages in one place. And now, not only am I keeping in mind the colors that show up on the packaging, I'm writing them bigger and leaving it on the actual sleeve. So I'm really liking these sleeves. I've ordered a whole bunch more, and pretty much anything that's in a 12 by 12, that's how I'm going to store it for a while. So take a look at this. I'll try and find the perfect one to show you that really looks like it's on canvas. because it truly is amazing. It really, really looks like you are right there, right on the canvas. So let's see if I can show you what I'm talking about here. On this particular piece, if you take a look in this area right in here, you can sort of get the sense of the grain of the canvas that it was painted on. You can get a sense of the brush strokes. So it was a hand painted, like I said, and then photographed to get this beautiful paper. And I'm very pleased to say that what I call the B side is really just as pretty as the A side. So we'll just zip through them really quick. I know we have lots of flowers this time, but that's okay. I think this one is delightful. Using Blackberry Bliss, which we haven't seen used in a while. This is a nice, generic, no flowers involved, but lots of color. Just a spattering of flowers. I think this one is really nice and would be especially good for like a home decor item. So even this piece is brush strokes. We have some really talented designers back in Riverton, Utah. So that's what we have. They're absolutely beautiful. But what's kind of fun is we also have the vellum that goes with them. I don't know if you noticed that when you were going through your catalog or not, but we have Petal Pink, So Saffron, and Old Olive vellum papers. And we're going to use some of these tonight. They're a really nice weight. So I think you're going to enjoy working with those. And once again, since it's a 12 by 12, I'm storing it in one of these plastic sleeves. The sleeve is very durable. Okay, so let's get these guys out of our way and we will proceed with making something. How about that? This is the stamp set that goes with the suite, the Perennial Essence Suite. This is Floral Essence is the name of the stamp set. And in the catalog, it talks about that the new Perennial Flower Punch coordinates with it, which it does, there with that image right there. But this leaf right here, or leaves, probably look very familiar. And yes, they can be punched out using the punch we already have. So I did that as well. Okay. When you take a look at this stamp set, you'll notice you have 3 different flowers, and then of course the one that goes with that punch for as a flower builder. Okay, wanted to show you that each one of these flowers has a unique center. So for example, the big flower, which is this one, right? This is stamped in Petal Pink. It has its own center that is more round. This is stamped, it's petal pink, and So Saffron is the center. So it has a unique stamp for the center of each one. Likewise, this little one has this unique center. Now we are actually going to stamp a couple things here because I wanted to show you something that was very fun. For me anyway. We'll see if it's fun for you. The Blackberry Bliss really, I think, is a beautiful color. That's the one right here. And you see how clear this image came out. I think it's going to be one of my favorites. So this Blackberry Bliss with Crushed Curry. This is the Balmy Blue. And I just stuck Calypso Coral in there so you could see the different things going on. Of course, these are perfect for masking and using the these leaves right here, or this guy up here, stems, that kind of thing. I wanted to show you with the Blackberry Bliss, which of course is a very dark color. Okay. This block I'm using was from a kit. I don't know why I'm using it. I have plenty of other blocks. But I wanted to show you that the tap, tap, tap that we always talk about, okay, it is photopolymer, so it's very easy to get the center lined up. Let's get that out of the way so I don't make a mess. So, very dark color, right? I'm going to use the white as a backdrop. Okay, so normally we would wipe that off, and there would be the staining we've all become accustomed to, right? Wow. This new cleaning pad, I think I might have talked about it last week, but I wanted to show you that it really does take away that pink. It grabs it, pulls it off. Now, this is a different product, or, you know, a different solution, and you can see the color coming off onto this pad. When you do use this, whoops, made a mess right there. When you do use this, you want to clean it off again, and the easiest way is just to use the chamois, get the chamois wet, and you know, just brush it off. But look at that, almost no staining is left. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun keeping our photopolymers a little cleaner from now on. You actually can use it on a stamp that maybe is already stained, that you just want to get it a little more clear. It's a pretty amazing product. You also can buy the refill for it. This is pretty juicy though, I have to tell you. So, but I wanted you to see that it actually does do what we all were told it would do. It's just kind of fun. So these flowers here were just stamped out to show you the images, how crisp they are, and the colors that go with the Designer Series paper. I also, when I made the, when I scheduled this Facebook Live, one of the things I said is we're going to play around with some coloring techniques and all of that. So I wanted to show you something that I've not really used in a very long time, but is kind of a fun way to get a different look. It works best on dark cardstock, okay? But you can still use it on some of the lighter. So this is pretty peacock. Let's see if I have an extra piece of that to show you what I did. Okay. So it kind of looks like it's got a watercolor wash on it. And what I did there was I used a Clorox bleach pen. And you actually can do a lot of things with this if you just apply it and let it sit there. It'll do things on its own. But if you just want to sort of create that washed look where it just sort of starts pulling out all the different colors that make up that color, that cardstock I mean, what I did is I just sort of moved it around with a block. And so when it dries, it'll grab that color off of there to the degree that, you know, you worked with it or pushed it down into the paper. So kind of a cool way to get a different look in the back. Maybe as one of the layers. You also can speed up the process by using your heat tool. So if you're working on a project and you don't want to just set this aside and let it dry on its own to get that effect, you can go ahead. Kind of hard to hear me right over this, but anyway. So I think you get the idea. I've not used the bleach in a while, and the other ways I've used the bleach have been more by putting bleach like on a I don't know, like a baby wipe or something, and then stamping with a stamp. So there's other ways to use the bleach as well. This particular one didn't come out quite how I hoped it would, but I did the white powder embossing, and then I put a little bit of the bleach gel and then moved it around with a paintbrush into the petals. Now, if I were to continue to do this, I could get it to be lighter the more I did that. So if I put this out on the edges, so if I was just trying to get the flower to sort of go dark to light as opposed to what we normally see, then I could do something like that and only keep the bleach out near the edges. And of course, just like anything else, you spill bleach on it, you know what happens. So you want to be very careful, and you want to have a very ventilated area that you're working in. But I think you get the idea of what I'm talking about, that it's a way to sort of modify the paper. And this will get lighter where I put that over time. You can also do your image. So I heat embossed with white embossing powder. Then I put the bleach pen across it and brushed across. And it just, I probably, this would be something where I would do the rest of the card probably. But in this particular case is the sample. What I did is when I was moving this around with the paintbrush, I took that paintbrush and went around the edges of this flower to lighten up the edges there. So there's a lot of different things you can do with it. It's kind of fun. Like I said, you need to be very careful with it because you don't want to obviously get it on your clothes, and you want to clean everything off as soon as you're done with it. That paintbrush that I was just using, when I get done tonight, I will probably throw that away. Okay. I don't know if you can really tell from here, but what that just did is it lightened up the petals out towards the edge. So anyway, that's some different ways to use our cardstock. And another household product, I know we used the press and seal the other day. We use wax paper for a lot of things. So household products can come in handy. Let's get that out of our way. And no fun staring at that black piece there. I want to show you this particular, this is grabbed from the catalog, and what it's doing is it's showing you the home decor piece that they made, and I don't think I can zero in on it any closer, but if you take a look, the flowers are made using the vellum. Okay, it's made using white embossing powder, clear embossing powder, and all sorts of other little tricks. So we're going to make a quick card and show you some of those tricks. One of the things we have access to as demonstrators is information about how each of these products in the catalog were made. And I thought this was kind of a clever trick that this particular designer did. So I thought we would go for it, and I would show you how I made this card right here. Now, of course, this is from that paper that we just looked at. Okay, I'm using the petal pink, which is one of the coordinating colors. And in this case, I wanted to, let me get this light a little different. I don't know if that helps or not, but, whoa, I made it worse, sorry. Okay. Because the designer paper has some bright splotches here of the crushed curry, I thought it would be fun for the card base to be crushed curry and then the designer paper on the petal pink. Now down here, these flowers are made using the vellum. And like I said, this vellum, whoops, too far. This vellum was very easy to work with. It was, like I said, 3 colors. The So Saffron, you know, I'm going to look to make sure I don't lie to you. So Saffron, Petal Pink, and Old Olive. What I wanted to point out was that with this new punch, in order to make sure that you can punch it out without too much distress, I took a sample, punched out a sample, measured exactly how wide the strip needed to be able to maximize the use and get the most benefit out of it. So when I stamped, excuse me, it fit perfectly in there, and that applied to the leaf as well, as you can see. This particular card was done with the clear embossing powder. And this particular die is the new stitched nested labels. I don't know if you guys have taken a look at those, but you get a lot. And actually kind of fun to work with. It's the same concept as some of the other stitched items, except this one, the stitching is just a little more subtle, I think. Let's see if I can get this in a place where you can maybe see it. Maybe not. But it's like some of the others we have where when you use it, you get the stitching around the inside and you get the stitching around the outside. So those are kind of fun. Like we talked about before, this is one of the new ones, and so the packaging is different. It slides like that. You do get 9 in this particular one, and they are nested, of course, as we see. But you also get this one little piece down here that will just do a stitch line for you. I thought that was kind of cool. So there's a lot of options in here. Of course, we have a lot of these layering types of things, but this is a unique shape. I think we'll get some good use out of it. Okay, so that's where that piece came from. And then, you know how we were talking about you can shop by color. Sometimes you find some nice surprises, like the gems there. They are petal pink, so they coordinated perfectly with this set, this paper. Also, a little trick that the designer of that home decor piece did is she or he actually used the sprig punch for something as well. So let's talk about how we did that. I am not going to make you sit here and suffer through me heat embossing this. Just suffice it to say that you want to try to stay on the low setting if you're using the Stampin' Up! Heat tool, or just be really, really careful. Okay, so let's get this a little off to the edge, but here are my pieces for the second card. Sorry. Okay, so the second card has a So Saffron flower again, and petal pink, but this time they were done with white embossing powder. Okay. One of the things you do want to be careful of, I think I lost one of my little poofy things right there. They are a little thick. So if I were to put this card in the mail, I would put a piece of cardstock and make the poofy side towards the back. I also would go ahead and put a hand stamp on it. I'm sure you guys recall the butterfly stamps I've talked about before. These are forever stamps. At the time I purchased them, they were 72 cents. And it signifies to the post office that it's supposed to be hand stamped and that you know it needs to be. So we're going to build this card again, but using the ones that have been embossed with the white powder instead. Okay. You'll notice I actually decided to stamp in Old Olive on the Old Olive and then used clear embossing powder just to make the leaves a little shiny. I could also see just using, you know, old olive paper, or even one of the other lighter greens, I think would look really nice. Okay, very simple card. I lost my adhesive. I'm kind of sad to be not showing this side, but I'll get over it. I have more paper, right? Okay, so the first thing I did was just build the basic card. Now I knew it was going to be kind of a thick card anyway, and so I was going to have to put extra postage. So I decided, why not go for it and, you know, go all out. If I'm going to pay extra postage, might as well go all the way. We've talked about this before, but the edges of our dimensionals are like gold. This is how I get them ready to use the edges. I just cut around like so. That way I don't get a lot of glue on my scissors. And then I use them, of course, just like we would if they had been the hexagonal shapes. And I've mentioned before that I kind of like to support the center of the cards, so I tend to put a little extra in the middle there. Standard card base out of crushed curry. So 8.5 by 5.5, and then scored at 4 1/4. Now remember, I could not use the beautiful new ribbon that goes with this particular suite because it's not available for order right now. So I probably would have wrapped that around somehow if I had had it, but I don't, so I'm not. Then this piece, you could put, of course, any sentiment you want that would fit. The way I decided to use this particular size of nesting framelit, or die, excuse me, not framelit, was because I wanted to be able to get the words in there. And I did use the crushed curry, because I'm trying to pick up on the color in the card base. Now this sentiment is all days are beautiful that begin with you. So that's kind of a cool message. I'm going to put it to the far right. Was that my head you just probably saw there? Sorry. And just like always, you know, you hold it for a little while and don't rock it or anything. And there you have your sentiment. This is just attached flat. And I chose to sort of extend it a little so that it hangs over. Okay? Now, these flowers have been embossed, and so they're going to be slick. And so that does create a problem for adhesives. So I did use tear and tape. Fast Fuse, if you have any left, is a good alternative for this as well. But by using the tear and tape, I can make sure that the pieces that are heat embossed will stick together. And this is just offset, like so. There are lots of other ways to do this. I saw a very clever idea where someone actually, and I wish I could remember her name, but I don't. I'll show it to you on this particular one. She actually just cut it slightly, and I don't, can you see that? Let's see if I can make it a little bigger. She just cut around the centers like that. And this would be really helpful, especially if you were going to be putting more than just the two together. But you can connect them in together so that they overlap just a little bit differently. And like I said, you're probably not going to really be able to see that, but I think you get the general idea. It's overlapped just a little where that slit was. Anyway, I digress. All right. So once again, the tear and tape, so we don't lose it. And I am almost getting to the kind of cool thing that I learned from reading up on how the designer made their home decor. We're almost there. And I do use my Take Your Pick tool quite a bit these days. Now, so I know they'll stay together. Now I just need to make sure that they'll actually stay on the card. So once again, now glue dots are pretty strong too, so they may be an option as well. But here we go, just a little bit of tear and tape. Oops. And I chose to just stagger the flowers as you saw in the original card. I don't know what's causing that weird light, but anyway. So I have tear and tape on this. I'm going to kind of hook this one out to the side a little bit like that. Maybe this is what's doing that. Anyway. This card could probably use a whole row of these flowers wrapping all the way around up here. But for now, we'll just go with these two that I made in advance. That way you don't have to watch me sit here and, you know, use my heat tool anymore. And when I first put the original card together, the one over here, I left off the leaves because I just didn't think they really added anything. But subsequent to that, I did trim off the bottom of the stem. I used a glue dot, and have you guys seen this little trick of tying a piece of ribbon right there? Once again, can't remember who I got that from, but it works really well. So it doesn't get out of control. So now I have my glue dot. I can tuck it under there, tuck the leaf under there, and not have to worry about the stem showing, which is one reason why I originally did not put the leaves on. Anyway, in this Old Olive vellum, I stamped it with Old Olive and then did the clear embossing powder. I think this one I will stick coming out from this direction. be a little different from the other one. Of course, I don't want it to stick out beyond the edge of the card, so I'm going to adjust this a little bit. See, this is one cool thing. It's your card, right? It's your creation. You can make it be whatever you want it to be. So there we go. Now here comes the interesting thing that I would have never figured out how she did this had we not had access to those instructions. And here's what she did. This is the sprig punch, and I cut out in between the pieces of the So Saffron that I had originally used for the flower. So you can see here I went back into some of those empty spots and used that to cut these little pieces. Then you just cut apart the sprigs so you can get these little pieces. Now I might put, I only put 4 on each of the ones over here in the card that's completed, but I think what I'll do is I'll put a couple extra so you can maybe see it a little more clearly exactly what's going on. Okay, now you want to make sure they're all turned over to the correct side. I know from the angle that you are currently in, you probably can't see a lot of difference in the color, but the vellum is lighter on one side than it is on the other. So I'm going to turn them all over, make sure I have the darker side showing as I glue them down. And what these are going to do, they are going to add some little additional pieces. Maybe somebody can tell me what that's called, but the center of the flower typically has some other, wow, they're not petals exactly. Anyway, maybe I'll think of a good word for them before we get done tonight. So, another small piece of Terran tape right in the center. And of course the center is where the vast majority of the embossing powder is, so it's particularly slick. All right, so I'm going to kind of push that into the center a little bit. And then these little guys are just going to sort of stick out from the center. And like I said, I'm going to put more than 4 so it shows up a little better on this card for you. All right, we'll do 5. So then you take the adhesive off the back of the little poofy piece. And put it right in the middle of those guys. Oops. Now, because we've already used the Terran tape under the little yellow pieces, that centerpiece should stay without any issues because you're actually putting it on to that vellum. So let's do the second one, because otherwise I might not finish it if I don't finish it right now. Okay, so once again, make sure it's the right side up. Have them coming out from the center. Murray in the background. She was my mother-in-law's favorite singer. Okay, so there's that second card. And of course I couldn't leave well enough alone. You can't really see it from there. But I did come back and put just a little wink of Stella on those pieces that were completing the center of the flower. Because, you know, who doesn't love a little wink of Stella? And that's how easy that card was to make. Now, you're probably thinking, yeah, that was pretty easy. I did all the work in advance. It really did not take that long to get the flower petals ready by cutting the vellum at exactly 1 3/4 inches. Everything worked very smoothly and it was very easy. I love having the punches because you can do a whole lot of things a lot more quickly. Now this one I'm not going to put any of the gems on because I like the way that that sentiment fills up the card there. But those are two really quick cards. I want to show you what I did on the inside of this one. When you're cutting your designer series paper, of course, this is 3 3/4 by 5, right? And so you end up with the 2 inches at the end. And so what I did with that on the first card is I trimmed around some of the flowers. I probably could have cut that a little more. But I did not want to waste that piece of paper because I wanted to do something with it. There are other things I could have done, as like, you know, add another little strip or whatever. But anyway, I didn't want to waste that, so I cut around, put that on the inside, the Whisper White, the Petal Pink again, and of course the Crushed Curry card base. So I think I'm going to really, really like this paper a lot. I'm looking forward to using the other colors and kind of getting away from the pink and so saffron. But that will be for another day. So let's take another look real quick. Some of the other colors we're going to get to play with. Okay. So I hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions at all about how something was done in the catalog, just let me know and I will look it up for you. And I guess that's it. There are a lot of fun things out there, so just send me a message if you see something out there that doesn't really lend itself to knowing exactly how it was done, and I will find out for you. Wow, this went a lot longer than I thought it would. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the cards. I like the way they turned out, and I will see you guys next Wednesday. If there's anything specific you would like for me to go over next Wednesday, just let me know. I'd be happy to do it. I will try to cover the various suites over the course, you know, of the catalog period. Just started with this one as the first one. Thank you, Paula. I'm glad you like it. Okay, don't forget, Stamp Camp's coming up on the 22nd. I hope to see a lot of you there because I will be stamping and having a great time. Okay, have a good night. Stay safe out there. Bye.